What happened to James Taylor?
Taylor is the son of Dr. Isaac and Gertrude Taylor, and he has 3 brothers and a sister who are all musicians. His family moved to the South when his father became dean of a medical school in 1951. Taylor initially studied cello, but switched to guitar in 1960. He dropped out of school at 16, formed a band with his brother, and later battled depression, seeking treatment at a psychiatric hospital. He formed the Flying Machine in 1966, but they disbanded in 1967. Taylor struggled with heroin addiction, moved to London, and got signed to Apple Records. He released his debut album in 1968 and performed in 1969, but a motorcycle accident led to a temporary hiatus due to hand injuries. Freed of his Apple Records contract, Taylor signed with Warner Brothers. He moved to California and, retaining Asher as his manager and producer, recorded his second album, Sweet Baby James. It was released in February 1970 and became a major success during the year, spurred by the single Fire and Rain, a song that reflected on his experiences in mental institutions, which peaked in the top 5 in October, the same month that the album achieved the same status on the LP charts. With that, interest in Taylor's first album was re-stimulated, and it belatedly reached the charts along with the single Carolina on My Mind, as did James Taylor and the original Flying Machine from 1967, which was a short collection of unfinished recordings made by a 60s band. Sweet Baby James then spawned a second hit single called Country Road, which peaked in the top 40 in March 1971. The same month, Taylor appeared on the cover of Time magazine, touted as the founder and leading proponent of the singer-songwriter trend in pop music. Meanwhile, Taylor acted in a feature film, Two Lane Blacktop, co-starring with the Beach Boys' Dennis Wilson. It was not successful, and Taylor didn't pursue an acting career, though the movie has been well reviewed since then. Taylor also worked on a new album, returning to record stores in April 1971 with Mudslide Slim and the Blue Horizon. As he toured the US, the LP spent the summer in the top 10, eventually peaking just below the top of the charts, paced by its first single, You've Got a Friend, written by Carole King, which hit number 1 in July and went gold. A second single, Long Ago and Far Away, reached the top 40, and the album eventually sold more than 2 million copies. On March 14, 1972, Taylor won the 1971 Grammy for Best Pop Vocal Performance for a Male with the song You've Got a Friend. Taylor took what was then considered a long time, more than a year and a half, to come up with his next album, One Man Dog, released in November 1972. On November 3, 1972, during an appearance at Radio City Music Hall in New York, he announced to the crowd that he had married singer-songwriter Carly Simon earlier in the day. Simon was already well known for the hits That's the Way I've Always Heard It Should Be and Anticipation, and would soon top the charts with You're So Vain. One Man Dog marked a fall-off in Taylor's record sales, though it went gold, reached the top 5, and it spawned a top 20 single in Don't Let Me Be Lonely Tonight. Taylor was next heard in January 1974 when he sang a duet with his wife, Mockingbird, a cover of the 1963 hit by Inez and Charlie Fox on her Hotcakes album. Released as a single, the recording reached the top 5 and went gold. That spring, Taylor launched a major tour in anticipation of his next album, Walking Man, which was released in June. Though it reached the top 20, the album was a commercial disappointment, failing to go gold or produce a chart single. But Taylor bounced back the following year with the May release of Gorilla. Again, he succeeded by reviving an old hit, this time Marvin Gaye's 1964 song, How Sweet It Is to Be Loved by You, which reached the top 5, helping the album become a top 10 gold-selling hit. In the Pocket, Taylor's 7th album, became his 3rd annual warm weather release, appearing in June 1976. Its single was the singer's own Shower the People, which reached the top 40 while the album made the top 20 and went gold. Nearing the end of his Warner Brothers contract, Taylor re-recorded a couple of his Apple songs for his Greatest Hits LP released in November. It became a great seller. With that and a major coup, he was signed by Columbia. His debut for the label JT was released in June 1977. Once again, a revival spurred its sales as Taylor covered Jimmy James's 1959 song, Handyman, and took it into the top 5, followed by a top 20 showing for his own Your Smiling Face. With such stimulation, JT reached the top 5 and sold over 2 million copies. On February 23, 1978, Taylor picked up a second Grammy for Best Pop Vocal Performance for a Male for Handyman. Along with Paul Simon, Taylor was a featured singer on Art Garfunkel's cover of What a Wonderful World, which was previously a hit for Sam Cooke and Hermit's Hermits, which peaked in the top 20 in March 1978. Taylor next became involved with the Broadway musical Working, which was based on Stud Terkel's bestseller, writing 3 songs for it. The show ran a scant 25 performances after opening on May 14, 1978, but Taylor reclaimed Millworker and Brother Trucker for his next album. Meanwhile, his duet with Carly Simon on a revival of the Everly Brothers' Devoted to You peaked in the top 40 in September. Flag marked a nearly 2-year break between albums, and it came out in April 1979. Its top 40 hit single being a revival of the 1963 Drifters hit Up on the Roof. Despite the lack of a really big hit single, the LP reached the top 10 and went platinum. That September, Taylor performed at Madison Square Garden in the No Nukes concerts, later being featured in the No Nukes Triple LP and the No Nukes concert film. Taylor embarked on a national tour in the summer of 1980, despite not having a current album to promote. From here on, recurrent touring became a regular part of his career and contributed to his longevity as an artist. That fall, he appeared on the children's album In Harmony 2, singing Jelly Man Kelly. The album won the 1981 Grammy for Best Recording for Children. He toured extensively in 1981, releasing Dad Loves His Work in February. The album reached the top 10 and went gold, spurred by the top 10 success of the single Her Town 2, written by Taylor, J.D. Souther, and Waddy Wachtel. This song became Taylor's most successful original composition since Fire and Rain. Taylor continued to tour frequently in the early 1980s, a period when his marriage to Carly Simon came to an end. They divorced in 1983. Often his performances took place overseas. In January 1985, he performed at the Rock in Rio concert in Brazil, a show that resulted in the Brazil-only release Live in Rio. His next studio album, following a gap of more than 4 years, was That's Why I'm Here, released in October 1985. As usual, his record label issued a cover song as the single. In this case, it was Buddy Holly's Every Day, which didn't get up very far in the charts. Nevertheless, Taylor's long career and constant touring had brought him a permanent audience ready to buy his records, and the album eventually went platinum. On December 14, 1985, he married for the second time to Catherine Walker. A month later, he was on tour in Australia. Road work continued to be Taylor's primary occupation in the mid-80s, but he came off tour long enough to finish another album, Never Die Young, only a little more than 2 years after That's Why I'm Here, released in January 1988. The title song, issued as a single, barely reached the charts, but Never Die Young was another million seller. The late 80s and early 90s saw more extensive worldwide touring. New Moon Shine, Taylor's 13th regular album release, came in October 1991. The same month, they sold out 6 consecutive shows at the Paramount Theater in New York. The disc stayed in the charts for nearly a year and sold 1 million copies. James Taylor later released his first live album, Live, in August 1993, which quickly went platinum. In 1996, he divorced his second wife. His 1997 album, Hourglass, was a hit, becoming a Grammy winner for Best Pop Album. He received accolades and awards in 2000, including inductions into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and the Songwriters Hall of Fame. Taylor continued releasing albums, including October Road in 2002 and Before This World in 2015, which became his first chart-topping LP. In 2020, he explored the Great American Songbook with American Standard. Alongside his music career, Taylor engaged in political activism and performed at significant events like Barack Obama's re-election campaign and inauguration. And as of the recording of this video in August 2023, James Taylor is still alive and well, and he still does tour a lot. And that's what happened to James Taylor. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and give me some facts about James Taylor that I failed to mention, and let me know who I should do next on this channel. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you in the next video.